How's everybody doing, and welcome to the fish room. So it's Sunday now. I have all my water changes done for the week. I got to do some feedings in here, but I wanted to show you guys a little update of the fish room. I got some new baby plecos that are in the cave, so I'll show you that. But let's go ahead and take a look. As you guys can see, it's snowing here in Pittsburgh. Nice winter day. I got work later, so hopefully the roads aren't too bad, but they're pretty good on getting everything cleared out. But let me show you what I moved around this week. So this tank here, if you guys are up to date and you've been watching the videos, I had German blue rams that were larger, and I moved them out and I moved some babies up. So these guys are growing well. If you guys have any orders for me, I have kind of a waiting list going on right now. Check out my website, biancosfish.com, or you can email me directly at biancosfish@gmail.com. But I apologize for the wait, but it's still really cold here, and I don't want to risk shipping fish whenever it's real cold. This week, I think on Monday, the low's like 9 degrees, so it's just too cold to be shipping these guys. I probably could do some overnights if you guys want to pay a little extra for shipping costs, and I'll put some extra heat packs in there. But those are the German blue rams. They came from the 10-gallon rack, so I got a net here. I sold some plecos to someone locally today. They came over and made the drive. I let a few of my nicer plecos I've been holding back. He's going to try to breed them, grow them up, and kind of spread out the strain, so maybe I'll even get some back from them in the future. But these angelfish that were in the containers that I started them in, I moved them up. So I got a whole bunch of angelfish. I've had some people ask me to sell these guys online, so once they grow out, I'll sell some angelfish. They'll go on the website. But I got some more of the smaller plecos in here that I'm holding back. Some longfin reds, calicos, if it'll focus in for us on the back. So I always like spreading those guys out. Those rams I showed you came from this tank, so now I have an open tank. I gotta do a water change on it, but I can add some more fish there. Here's the rams that are the generation behind them. They're just a little bit smaller. So those guys will eventually move over to that 20-gallon. When those guys are bigger, they'll go to 55, just kind of keep that cycle going. Here are those older angelfish. Probably another month or so, but these guys are ready for sale. I'll sell them to a pet store most likely, and then once it's warmer, probably in a month or two, I can start shipping these guys too if anyone wants to get. They're platinums and they're marbles and kois, so we'll see how they turn out. Up here will be what some of those guys will look like. These are the ones I'm holding back. These are more so marbles and platinums. They have a lot less of the koi. Turn this light on, we'll get a little, or not, that light's turned off, sorry. But I'm holding these guys back. I'll probably sell a couple of them. I think I have 10 of them now. But they have nice fins. I like the way they hold themselves, and they're pretty hardy. And over here, I'm selling these guys too. If you're in the Pittsburgh area, I think I made a local posting for these guys, so I'll sell them out because I got to get rid of some of these angelfish so I can make room for the babies in the 20-gallon long. They'll go in here and I'll grow them out. And I got some mollies too that kind of just hang out in the fish room. These guppies are still breeding pretty well. So they're really starting to produce some babies now. I have some babies hanging out in the fake plants. These are those yellow half blacks. So I know all these are actually siblings, so this is an F2 project. And then I have some babies in here. If they all come out and they're very, if they're 100% true and they all are yellow half blacks, I'll select the nicest of those and I'll breed them. So I'll have my F3s. Really working on having less strains of guppies and keep them pure so I can get more consistency. I'd rather have, here's another tank of the yellow half blacks. I'd rather have a few strains of guppies that are throwing a lot of the same babies so they're consistent, and I can ensure to my customers that they're gonna get a pure strain. Otherwise I'll sell them as mutts or just fancy guppies or assorted, but this is kind of an assorted tank. Some really nice females, and I have some babies from these. So they turned out nice. So what I did in this tank, I crossed those fancy females to a purple Delta male, trying to get more of the color and get the squared off tails. So I have some babies that turned out really nice from that we can check out. This tank here is where I moved the babies, so they're growing up, and I'm spotting some really nice males. So the tank's a little cloudy because I'm feeding a lot of algae wafers for the plecos. But I definitely have a few males in here that look like the dad and a few males that look like a nice cross from the female and the male. So excited that these guys kind of are, in my eyes, a success. But they're going to start breeding here because they're getting to that age. But I want to separate, maybe get 2 different trios, see what these guys will produce in the next generation, and still grow up these bristlenose plecos. I did show that these spot plecos bred. They bred outside of the cave, and I netted out the eggs and I tumbled them, so we can check out the fry for those. But these are those blue-eye leucistic spot plecos. This guy on the side, you can see a big black spot on his head. So I'm pretty excited to see these babies grow up. So in this little hang-on container, I tumbled the fry in one of these, like a hang-on box, or it's a tub right there. So I tumbled them there. Didn't get a real big success rate, but they were sitting in the waste for a day or so, so they may have fungused up faster. But if you see any in the back, there's a couple right there. It does look like they're gonna have the spots on their head, so we're gonna lose focus, but let's zoom in. So you can see it's a blue-eyed. They're gonna be blue-eye leucistics, or hopefully the blue-eye spot plecos, like the parents. And there's a couple babies in the corner there. This is the first time they bred, so I think I only got maybe 8 of them. I think like 20 hatched, but I got less of them to survive. But first time around is gonna be harder, but I'm excited to see if you guys show any of the spots. And I know we'll move forward because I know you can't really see anything here. But whenever I was looking close in person, I could kind of spot a little bit of markings on the head of a few of them. Let's see what else is new. So I've been moving my plecos from tank to tank. So this is like a big sale tank. I have the albinos, the blue-eyes, and the commons. Once they hit about that size there, I'll start selling them. So I definitely have some for sale. I have a pet store waiting on like 100 of these guys. So I don't want to give them too small fish. I'd rather them wait a few more weeks, sell out all their stocks or get lower. And then whenever they get the new guys, they'll be at a good sell size right away. And they don't have to sit on the small plecos. So some of these are definitely ready to go. Some of them are smaller, so I'll have to kind of go through, pick those out. But speaking of plecos, I told you I'd show you the baby plecos. So let's go ahead and check that out. Alright guys, so in this tank's pretty cool. I'm breeding some common females and some albino females to super red males. Not really for any particular reason, but I was growing out the males. I didn't have any more super reds to breed them to, but I had some large females of different colors, so I just mixed them in there, let them see what they produce. And we'll go close, I'll put a flashlight on it, but in this cave here, I got some couple-day-old plecos. I'll get my flashlight out. You can kind of see the tail right there, he's moving around, of the male. And I really strongly debated on if I wanted to pull this cave out, release the fry somewhere, and grow them up separately, or just let them stay in this tank, and I'll have like my 3rd generation of plecos, and then I can pull out the parents and let them grow. But I think it's going to try to focus for us. Let's see, the camera's kind of the way. You can see in the back left, all of them kind of shaking around, the male's coming closer to us. But let's just kind of mess around with the lighting for a second, see if I can get a shot of these guys. Because I think it's always really cool to see plecos in the cave whenever you have some new fry. But there you go, you can see them all shaking in the back, and there's a good 100 or so of them in there. If they were like super reds or something of long fin, something I don't have a lot of, because right now they're just commons, I'd probably pull that out, grow them out in a 10 or 20 gallon tank with some guppies or by themselves. But you can see he's fanning away, and all those plecos are kind of swimming around in the back. And even these guys up front are the generation ahead of them. So they're producing a lot of babies. It seems like he bred twice in the matter of a few weeks, probably to 2 different females, because there's some small babies, but they look like they're a week or 2 old. And then the babies in the back are definitely younger. So that's always a pretty cool shot to see those babies in there. I got 3 generations or so. This guy on the side is probably a couple months old. The guy actually in the cave is smaller. He's probably about a month old, maybe a few weeks, and those guys in the back are just days old. So that's really cool. If you guys want, I can make a video after this, or maybe I'll do it at the end of this video. I can release those guys into the tank and watch them all swim out. But as of right now, I think I'm going to let them hang out in the cave, slowly come out, feed really heavily. I feed these algae wafers. I'll post a link below. It's pretty much all I feed. I have some, we'll back up a little bit. I have some driftwood in the tank, but for most of my pleco tanks, I'm really not using much driftwood. Some don't have any driftwood at all, and I just feed these wafers. So I know people say plecos really need the driftwood, But I think they like it. If they're starving, they'll chew on it, but I don't think it's mandatory because most of the food that they eat is gonna have that in their diet. But that's a pretty cool shot of those plecos, I think. You can see I got some red guppies in here, still trying to get them more of the delta tail. But right now they're just kind of assorted reds, how I'm selling them. And then you can see the older plecos hanging out, got some fake plants, some acrylic yarn. There's the female, and you can see her belly's kind of tiny. So she probably is the one who just laid all those eggs. She was real fat a couple weeks ago, so she's definitely one of the moms. And then there's the father. And I probably have 4 or 5 adult plecos in this tank. So some are hiding in the back, and those 2 are kind of hanging out up front. This tank, I just have 1 female long fin in here and all of her babies. I think I lost the male. I don't know if they were fighting or something, but he got this kind of a wound on him, and I decided to pull him out, and he didn't make it. But other than that, all the babies are doing well. We have the long fin albinos and commons, and there are a few calicos in here. I've showed these before. There's one on the side wall there. So only like 1%, maybe 5% of them are reds or calicos, but if I keep searching through, there's probably about 5 in this tank. So that kind of goes to show whenever those plecos are more expensive, you have the calicos and the super reds. It's because they're more of a recessive color and they're harder to reproduce. And whenever you have the babies, you're typically not going to get 100% of them, so they're harder to get. This tank here, I'm hoping to have some super red babies here shortly, but here's a nice pair of purple deltas. And in the cave, the male's been hanging out in there. That's one of the super reds, and the female swimming around. So if I spot babies, I'll definitely show you those. These are their babies from this tank because I moved the pair over. These guys are about 3 months old, maybe 4 months old now. So they grow slow, the plecos. But I think that if I keep separating them from the parents, growing up in different tanks, they'll probably grow a little bit faster. And it kind of helped me keep things a little bit more organized. Same thing in this tank. I'm growing out some of the super reds and I removed the pair. So these guys are all hanging out. They have a little bit of driftwood. That moss is kind of dying back. Hopefully it'll kind of root itself and grow, but I have real low lighting in here for plants. And I've been moving these super reds throughout the fish room. So 2 or 3 in a tank help spread out my numbers, and these guys can grow up. So I'll have future breeders, and then I'll have these tanks that'll keep the majority of them, and I'll sell these guys. I have a waiting list for these 2. People have been emailing me, but they're still a little bit small. I could sell them, but I'm not looking forward to selling them and shipping in cold weather. So making people wait a little bit longer for these, I hope they understand. I want to get you the healthiest fish I can, and I don't want to have any problems. I definitely do a live arrival guarantee, as long as it's nothing that's either of our faults. If it's just the fish itself, the shipping method. So I'll refund those. So I want to make sure that the conditions are good before I do that. Update on some of the half black guppies, the yellow half blacks. I pulled that acrylic yarn out, put it in here, tied on a little cork, so now it's floating, gives some more hiding places. There's one like miscellaneous pleco in this tank I've been trying to catch out. Every time I go in, he darts away. But I'm waiting for these guys to have babies. I think they probably did a few weeks ago, and they ate them because she got big and skinny, and it's been almost a month and a half and no fry. So hoping she's going to drop fry again, and I'll give some more hiding places additional to that, and hopefully they'll survive. But these guys are doing well. I pulled that yarn out. They're eating just crushed up flake food, and definitely like having these hang-on boxes. I bought that off Amazon. I think it was like under $15, and it gives me an entire aquarium. So you just plug into some air right there, it blows up, pushes some water in, and it flows out the other side. Whenever they're small, I'll put a little screen on the back, and then I'll pull that out when they get larger so they get better flow, and I can crank up the air. But when they're small, they won't get sucked up and pushed into the tank. So those guys are growing pretty slow and steady. I showed the rams and angels that I moved around from 10 gallons to 20 gallons and stuff. This tank was full of female guppies. I went ahead, pulled them out because I have so many plecos in here kind of growing out that they produce a lot of waste. They take a lot of food, so this tank was clouding up. I think I have 2 guppies that I noticed a couple days after that. I don't know how, but I missed them and they stayed in the tank, and they're not even that small, so I'm not sure how I missed them. But these guys are a lot of those super red and common mixes, so whenever they grow up, I keep some and I hold them back. For now, I'll sell them as commons, but if I breed them to each other, they might produce some reds or calicos because of their parents. But So this tank's doing well, growing out the plecos here. Down in this tank, I have a few more baby plecos, probably about sellable size. You see some on the airline tubing and on the sponge filter. There's probably 2 or 3 dozen plecos in here. And then I have a trio, I believe, of the fancy guppies. These are like an F2, F3. This male I thought was really nice, and they're super hard to get a shot of, but he's up to the front, so you can see him a little bit. I think I put 2 trios. There's 2 males right there. You can get splashes of color that you can see right now, but it's not really focusing in for us. But hoping those guys will drop some fry while I'm waiting. I'll let those plecos keep growing. I'll catch them out, and this will eventually be assorted fancy adult plecos that I'm waiting to breed. I'll put my extra super reds in here, long fins, whatever I'm not breeding at the time, because I already have enough breeders. But I want to kind of keep them as holdbacks, or I'll sell them as pairs locally. Don't really like to ship the large plecos too often, or at least if I don't have a lot of them. But I definitely will. I have some larger shipping boxes now where I can do it. But I like the heat enough for me. If anything were to happen to a pair, I have other adults that I can switch them out with. So I'll sell those guys, and then I'll put some larger ones in here. And then as for the female guppies that were up here, I moved them in this 55 gallon. This tank's doing really well. They school up, they're really fun to feed. It's almost like a pond. So there's hundreds of female guppies in here. There might be a couple males, I hope not, but if they drop fry in here and they grow up, you'll get some males. But I've been doing a lot better on keeping the males and females separate, so I can control my numbers and work on certain colors. But I do plan on moving any plecos that I have in this tank out. So these are sellable size. I'll probably catch them from this tank to sell and not move them into that 40 gallon that's full of plecos. These guys are a little bit larger, so I can sell these guys first, and then after I run out of these, or if they're too small, I'll move the smaller guys in there and I'll catch more to sell. But I do have a long fin female in here with 2 different sizes of super red males. There's a smaller guy in the back, which he just wasn't getting the job done. I don't know if she's beating him up or he's just not dominant enough. But I added a larger red male, and he's been guarding this cave pretty well. I might even have some babies in there. I might check later, because I saw her in and out of the cave a few days ago, and now she's over here. She looks, it's hard to tell, but she looks kind of skinny. That might just be me, but she might have bred with him, so see what we get there. And then I'll sell these plecos. I want to try to keep my guppies and my rams and my plecos more separate now, only if I'm growing them out in large numbers. Like, there's so many guppies in this tank. To mix these guppies with plecos and a lot of babies and feed them, the tanks get really dirty really fast. So I want to start doing only the guppies or only the rams. Like this tank over here, this is new too. I got all of the plecos out of here a few days ago after water changes. So I have a pair of super reds that have been guarding the cave. They might breed, but I don't want to have 100 babies in here with the germ blue rams. All the waste really builds up on the bottom of the tank, and I don't want to risk getting these guys sick. So keeping these guys by themselves right now, for the exception of a few breeders, which they won't make a big deal. But these rams I'm selling online too. I have some people waiting on these guys. The guppies and the plecos, or more so the guppies, can ship in colder weather typically, but the rams, unless I do 2 or 3 heat packs, which it just adds on the cost of shipping, I don't really like shipping these guys whenever it's under 30 degrees or so. I added some of these from the 20 gallon long, so where those younger rams moved, I moved the adults into here and I sold some. But this tank is really cool to look at. It's kind of bare, all you see is just fish, so I like this tank. In here I have some of the adult plecos that I've been selling from. I might pick out a new blue-eyed albino or leucistic pair and breed those guys. Again, I'm still getting some produced at my commons because I've mixed them in the past, so I'm getting the blue-eyes right now, but I'm not breeding any blue-eyes. So I'll probably end up making a pair of those guys too. Alright, we'll start wrapping this up. I got one more thing I want to show you guys, kind of more so fish filter related, not fish, but let's go ahead and take a look really quick, kind of a sneak peek. So on this angel tank, up here I have a little container here. What this is, I did a video on it, I'm going to post it, but I want to give it a few weeks to make sure it's doing well. I don't want to show a new project and have it crash in a few days and then share it with hundreds of people. Hopefully thousands. If you guys aren't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. But for this, I want to have a air pump that lifts water up similar to our hang-on boxes, like this, where it's pumping air up, the water gets dumped in the top, and then it can overflow back into the tank. I want to do that, or an actual pump down here, pump it up here, do like an aquaponics. I want to gravel this and grow plants. So right now, I'm not going to show a whole lot of this, but I have some mint here. I'm waiting for it to germinate. So this is kind of separate, but it's really good for filtration. I want to make sure the mint's not harmful for the fish or anything. Basically, they're sitting in water. Some of the leaves will die back. You got to prune it, but eventually they're going to grow roots on the bottom. I can pull them out of the water, root them in gravel with some water in there, and this will be a cool little filter. So that's a sneak peek on that. There'll be a part 1 and a part 2 on that later, if it all works. If it doesn't work, I'll still share it with you guys later because I made the video, but I'll definitely add on to the video and kind of explain what I tried, if it worked and if it didn't work, and what I think I could do to make it better. But I think that's about it, guys. I'm sure there's more things I could show you in the fish room, but I try to do fish room updates on the weekend. So move some fish around, got some babies with the plecos. The guppies are doing well. But thank you all for watching. Go down in the comments, let me know what you want me to make my next video. I definitely like sharing stuff. If things are breeding or I'm trying new projects, I like to share it with you guys. But I like to know what you guys like to see too. So if you're not subscribed, go below, hit the subscribe button, like the video if you liked it, comment what you think I should do next, what you think I'm doing that you like, what you don't like, things I can do in the future. Thanks again for watching. Gonna end up the video. Gotta go feed some fish, but I show that all the time. If you want to see a feeding video in the future, I'll do that. But thanks again for watching. Check out some other videos up here, and stay tuned, stay subscribed for some more content. Thanks.